Why are people getting cancer and why are people getting lung diseases or having all these different mental health issues? Trace it back to their childhood. Between the ages of 0 and 7, it's the fastest development of learning. If you have a child that's misbehaving, you may need to look at yourself and say, did I create this? If a child is early on having traumatic experiences, things like that, it will affect the way their DNA is read and transcribed. There's a study called the ACEs study, and it was done showing adverse childhood experiences and how much it changed the way they physically and mentally are operating later in life. And it was so dramatic that it just shocked the researchers. The biggest thing is, if you feel like, oh my gosh, have I messed my child up? No, you haven't. Everything is correctable. I can't tell you how many people would say, yeah, my dad was, a violent guy and he'd hit me, but I knew he loved me and I'm okay. And I'm like, it's showing up somewhere. I'm not going to do what my parents did, and then you go back to it. It's because that's what you learned. That's your manual.
So we were in the car today, and you told me about the thing your mother said when you were a kid. She said it's hard to make the ends meet.
Yes.
And what happened? What did you make that mean?
This is what I say all the time is, as parents, we say things to our children, we just assume they know what it means. My mother knows what that means. She was trying to say it's difficult sometimes at the end of the month to make the ends meet. I thought we had a problem with meat, like real meat. I never asked, I never questioned it. I just assumed we had a meat problem, and that's just the interpretation as a kid I had on what she said. Now, it's not traumatic or disturbing, but it's a great way to illustrate how we say things that we think our children understand and they don't.
Absolutely. So how old were you when you figured out what that really meant?
That's a good question. I don't know. I eventually obviously figured it out. But then when I look back on it, I remember how many times she would say it. And again, she's just using it. It's just in her vernacular. And so she just says it. But I have no idea what it means until I can't remember exactly when I did, but at some point, obviously, I figured it out.
Yeah. So that story or that example is so powerful because as adults, we're like, of course, I understand the meaning of that. And we expect children to understand it as well. And I have kids, I have 2 kids, and I know that there's so many things that when they were younger, I was like, but they should handle this, or is that really a problem? Or, because we adults, we interpret our kids based on our point of view.
Right.
Like, that's, why are you crying? There's no reason to cry here, or just like pull yourself together, or, so it's really hard as a parent to jump into the shoes of a little child. Like, what is it really like? How much do the kids understand?
And what happens is they will then, if it's not a traumatic thing, obviously it's not a big deal, but if it's a traumatic event or you say something that they misinterpret, it will show up later in their life.
Yeah.
And you don't think it will, but it does. And it can be something very simple that you said. I can't tell you how many times I see people and they'll say, I remember that day when my mother said that, and that made me so angry. Children can't fight back, so they just absorb it.
Yeah. Wow. And you work a lot with kids, right?
Yeah.
So do you have any examples of other things that they have misinterpreted? How does that really work?
The best example is actually my wife. When she was 6 years old, now she's living in a traumatic household. There's tremendous stress and trauma, so she's struggling with that. And then the mothers in the neighborhood put together a tea party. And so she was all excited. Her grandmother dressed her up in a pretty dress. And so she's only 6. She gets to the tea party and the mothers are greeting them. And when Bridget gets there, one of the mothers says, oh my gosh, Bridget, look at you. You're going to be such a heartbreaker when you grow up. And all the other mothers are like, oh yeah, definitely. Bridget's going to be a heartbreaker. She told me that story in her 20s and she's sobbing. And she says, I got sick to my stomach and went home. What the 6-year-old Bridget heard was, you're going to hurt people. And that's the last thing she wanted to do. So she thought they saw something bad in her. And that's the last thing. So she felt so bad, she actually went home. Wow. The mothers would have no idea that that's the way she saw it. But doesn't it make sense that a child who doesn't know what that means, you're going to break hearts, it means you're going to hurt people?
Of course, that's what those words mean, right?
Yep.
Break people, break hearts.
Yes.
And kids, like, and it's so hard for us parents to really understand what it's like being a child. I still can't really grasp what that would be like. And just like, I'm working on myself, trying to remember that, okay, a child knows nothing.
Right.
Nothing. They come into this world, they know nothing. And everything they learn about the world, they learn from us and whatever they see around them. And they have to interpret the world, and they're doing that with a brain that isn't fully developed.
And between the ages of 0 and 7, they are actually literal. So they take everything in literally. Yeah. They have no ability to assess it and analyze it. They don't have that reason and logic starting until much later. So whatever you say to them, they're going to take the literal interpretation of that, and then that's going to leave an impression. And so I'll give you another example. I had a lady, she said she was in church, and she's telling me the story. She goes, oh, I don't have any trauma. I can't think of any trauma that I've had. And then I said, can you think of an event when you remember it, it makes you feel emotional? And so like an emotional concussion. And she had to think about it for a while, and she was in a group. And so she says, oh yes, okay, I can remember one now. And she says, I was sitting in church with my family and I was talking, and I can see her eyes starting to fill up, and she's starting to feel it now. And she says, and as I was talking, my grandmother took out the hairbrush out of her purse and hit me on the head and said, stop talking, you're in church. And then the water work started. And it took her probably 30 minutes to catch her breath. And when she caught her breath, you know what she said? I lost my voice that day. Oh. I never stand up for myself. People push me around all the time. She had never connected that. So what the 6-year-old heard was, stop talking. Not stop talking forever, but she takes it literally. We don't want to hear from you.
Wow.
And so that was the initializing event that created that silence in her.
I mean, people need to know this.
Yes.
Because as adults, we understand what that means from our adult perspective. And we have no idea that the kids take this literal. Mm-mm. And that they misinterpret it. And those kids, like your wife and this woman, they never told anyone about this.
Never said anything.
Because kids, they keep stuff to themselves, right? And as you said, the example with your mother, like you told me, you didn't question it.
I just don't understand it. So I just like, okay, I don't want to look stupid. So I just, okay, there's something with meat going on in the house. It's a big problem, right? Because she talks about it a lot.
And why would you question it? Because, you know, adults do a lot of things, and we kids, or when we were kids, we just, you know, accepted it, and that was the way it was.
So think of this. If you've got a child who is literal, and the child is running, what do we say? Stop running. Those are 2 commands. Stop is one, and running is another. So you're literally saying, stop, run, stop, run. That's what the child hears. They get confused. And so if they don't stop running, they're thinking you're telling them to run. You said, stop, run, stop, run. No, stop running. They don't understand that. Those are 2 distinct commands, right? But if you said, slow down, they can understand that. Slow down. That makes more sense. There's no logic. It's all literal.
So what would happen, like, when you tell a child to stop running? Like,
you're confusing them.
Yeah.
They just don't understand it.
Yeah.
And they probably won't, because they heard both commands and they are running. So they're actually fulfilling the one command. I'm running, right? I'm just not stopping. Right?
And as you're saying this picture pops into my head of my own children running. Well, I normally, I never told them to stop doing anything. I was very very cautious about telling them what to do instead of. I never said don't do that. Like,
Right.
yeah, because I was already like, I never said don't climb. Like, I always gave them a clear instruction. I still get this picture of a little child running, and how confusing that must be.
And they don't understand negation.
Yeah.
So they don't understand the word don't.
Yeah.
So when you just said don't climb,
Yeah.
what did they hear?
Yeah.
Climb.
Yeah.
Don't doesn't even make sense to them.
No, it doesn't.
And what do they hear? That does make sense. Climb.
Yeah.
And then they keep climbing. You said, I said, don't climb.
Absolutely.
Right? And so children get so confused, even without bad intentions. Parents aren't trying to confuse their kids, but if you don't understand how that child's brain works, and this is what we want to share with people and get this message out, what we were talking about, you don't realize that the effect that it's having. But if you understood it, it's almost like you have to learn this language and the way to speak to children that's going to be the most effective.
Yeah. So, okay. So how can we learn this language, and how can we help our children to understand the world, or actually get our message through to our kids?
Well, it's a combination too. It's not just the words. Children are learning between the ages of 0 and 7. It's the fastest development of learning. So they're doubling, right, their vocabulary like constantly. There's new neural connections happening all the time. So they're fast, right? But they're also learning what you maybe don't want them to learn fast too. So that's why you have to be so specific in the way you speak and think about the words, and do they understand the words? So if you have a child that's misbehaving, you may need to look at yourself and say, did I create this unintentionally by confusing them? And then start to look at the words, go back and figure out what you were saying and how they could be interpreting it. But almost more important than the words is the tone.
Yeah.
And so because they're looking for safety. So you could say, I love you, right? The words and the music are two different things. So I talk about making sure that you understand the words and the music. Because the music say, I love you, and the tone says, I'm mad. That confuses them. And so you have to be very careful, the pacing, the tone, and really when you want to make your point, get to their eye level.
Yeah.
Because think about this. I mean, you're tall.
I am. Yeah.
And that can be intimidating when somebody big is talking down at you.
Yeah.
And so that's intimidating. So a child who's small has this towering person over top of them talking down to them.
Ooh, yeah.
Right? So if you really want to get their attention, get down at their level and say, please listen, right? And then give your commands. And then one of the best things to do is ask them, does that make sense? Do you understand what I just said? Ask them to repeat back what they heard.
Ooh.
And you may be shocked what they repeat back. Here's what I heard. No, I didn't say that. Right? But that's what they heard.
Yeah. So after age 7, they are not that literal anymore.
They're starting to develop some logic and reason. So between 8 and 12, they're really starting to learn a lot more.
Yeah.
They're starting to socialize a lot more. So 0 to 7, you pretty much have clay in your hands. You're molding the way this child's going to grow up, how they're going to socialize, how they're going to deal with friends, deal with conflict, all of those things. Between 8 and 12, they're going to apply it, and they're going to start applying it. And then they're going to start learning even more lessons that you may not want them to learn, that maybe their friends don't like the way they talk and they do things. And then they start developing all kinds of fears. And then between 13 and 18, if you haven't got 0 to 7 right, you're going to start to struggle in 8 to 12. And if you haven't made any corrections yet, the 13-year-old, good luck. You're going to have a lot of fun because they're fighting for independence.
Yeah.
And that came from early in their childhood. So one of the things that you can do, and this is a really good way to train them, when they're very young, what do we tend to do? Okay, put this on, we're going out. We're going to dinner. So wear this. I don't want to wear that. You have to wear that. We're going out to dinner. You have to look nice. And so the best way to do that is to pick out 3 outfits and say to them, which outfit do you want to wear to dinner? What are you teaching them? I have some control in this. And then no matter which one you pick, you're happy with it, right? So they feel like they're choosing, but you're okay with any of the choices. And then they're starting to learn some independence. And it's not going to make or break anything, but it's going to start to teach them. If they don't get that early on, they're going to be fighting harder and harder for it when they get older.
Yeah.
But it's a very simple thing that you can teach them very early.
Oh, that's so powerful. So, yeah, I know I've done a lot of things right with my kids, and a lot of things I know that, ooh, if I were to do that again, I would do it differently now that I know more. Now they are both teenagers. They are very harmonious. There's no fighting.
Wow, that's
There's
awesome.
no pushing. They are independent. They if they want something, they say it out loud. Or like my daughter said, like we were in Maui last year, and we're all going to the beach, and she said, "You know what, Mom? I need some alone time. I'm going to stay at the hotel, relax." And I was like, so proud of her.
I was just going to say, congratulations. That's amazing.
Because I've been teaching her to listen in and meet her own needs, that taking time out and relaxing is good. And we respect that. So we have always done our best at respecting them and their needs.
Yep.
So I find, so maybe we'll get a surprise later on. I don't know, they're 13 and 15, and I still think like everyone else is saying, oh, you know, when they become teenagers, it's such a struggle. There is no struggle in our house. And I think maybe, and I would love to hear your feedback on this, we've done our best at respecting them, meeting them, their emotions, understanding them. When there was an issue, something, we would listen and we would do our best at understanding them. So they always felt understood and that they could come to us. Like we were never commanding, demanding, like being the boss. It was always like a level relationship.
That's awesome. That's a really,
did
really
something
good.
right.
Yeah, no. So the big thing is they have to know that you have the final say.
Yeah.
But say, for example, there's something coming up. Maybe it's a move, right? You know, you get this opportunity for a new opportunity, you got to move. Sit down and talk to them before. Get their input, as opposed to, we're moving. Like, what? All my friends, right? Give them a period to adjust and talk to you. My dad did it really well. One of the things that he said when we were growing up is he says, you can disagree with me at any time as long as you're respectful, and I'll listen.
Yeah.
The minute you are not respectful, the conversation is over. You can convince me to change my mind if you're respectful, but I do make the final decision.
Yeah.
So present a convincing argument if you want to convince me, right? And I love that.
Yeah.
And so we felt like we could talk to them. And we felt like if we had, that's one of the biggest things. You've got to make it safe for them to call you. So now you've got these teenagers, right? So with these teenagers, they're going to get into situations that you have no idea what's going on. So say they get into a situation and they don't know, oh my gosh, like mom's going to be so mad that I'm at this party and there's people drinking. What am I going to do? If you've made it safe to call you and tell you, I need help, I want to come home. But if you're the person that's going to go, how would you go to that party? What's wrong with you? I told you to stay away from. Are they going to call you? Nope.
No.
So when they make a mistake or they get into a bad situation, if you develop the relationship to feel safe to call you, that you're not going to judge them, you're not going to yell at them, they'll call you. And that is one of the best things you can ever do. And it sounds like you've got that. If she's willing to stand up and say, I'm going to stay at the hotel, right? And she wasn't worried about doing that, then she's felt heard.
Yeah. We've always done our best at like validating their emotions, hearing what they say, understanding. Like yeah, they might say, oh, we want more candy on the Saturday, or can we whatever, and we'll still say no, because
Yes.
it's not like we're not like just forcing stuff on them. There's always been an explanation. Okay, we are the parents, we're setting the boundaries, like we decide. We do explain why we do it. It's not just like no. It's like there's a reason for it, and you can come and you can reason.
Yep.
like your dad told you to. So you can come and you can reason, and I'll listen, and then I'll have the last say, because I've lived for 40 years longer than you.
Yeah. Yep. And that's what they need to hear.
Yeah.
They'll be fine with that. They may not like it, but because they want to get what they want, but they're going to respect it.
Yeah.
And if you can teach them that respect and just say, I'm using my experience, right? You're going to use your experience with your kids, but here's what my experience has taught me. And so this is why I'm making this decision. And if you explain it to them, they may not like the explanation, but they're not going to be mad about it.
No.
And they'll just accept it.
Yeah.
So that relationship between 0 and 7 sets everything up for the 13 to 18. If you didn't get the 0 to 7 right, start making the corrections in 8 to 12, right? And if you don't get that right, you're going to have a fight on your hands with your kids. Okay. And it's still correctable.
Yeah, that was what I was going to get at, because
Yeah.
we can correct everything, right?
Yes, absolutely. Yeah.
That's
Everything is fixable.
Yeah.
You just have to go in with the right plan to fix it. And the number one thing is communication. So, I mean, we all have businesses and we know that. And a lot of times our staff may not like the decision we make, but if you present it the right way, right, they'll accept it.
Yeah. Okay, so I would love to get into, what is important for parents to think about, like the first formative years and then later on, and to get some good advice. And some people listening might be like, okay, but my kids, they already moved out, they're adults, whatever. It's always fixable, right?
Absolutely. Yeah, a lot of times people repair the relationships with their children in their adult years. Yeah. And that's great if you can do it.
Yeah.
But you have to, I think the best thing to understand is it's okay if you've made a mistake to admit it. Maybe I didn't do the right things then, but I definitely want to get the relationship back on the right track.
Yeah.
And if you can do that, parents sometimes feel like, oh, I'm admitting I'm weak, it's not good to make a mistake. If you made a mistake, own up to it. Isn't that what you want your children to learn?
Yeah, and also if we as parents are always perfect,
Yeah.
how can we give our kids permission to be anything but perfect?
Yeah. Yep. So say even things like, say we all get tired and we get a little upset and then we yell at them and then they're crying, right? What's wrong with going in and saying, that wasn't my best, right? Can we reset? Can I hear what you have to say? What a change in the relationship you'll make. You're admitting that wasn't me at my best, right? I didn't keep my cool. I don't want to have that relationship with you, right? Let's talk about it.
You're creating closeness instead of distance.
Yes.
So what happens in a child when a parent yells? I mean, I snapped at my kids sometimes as well. I was super tired. I was, putting them to bed and they were just like all over the place. So yeah, what happens in the child's mind?
Think about this. The most important people in your life are the people, your parents. And if you don't feel safe, right, that has a major effect on them. Yeah. So they need to feel safe. When people ask me, what's the best advice you can give to parents? I said, make your home safe.
And how do people do that?
By keeping the home a safe place to be. And so this is what I talked about with my wife. She grew up in a very traumatic, violent home, anger constantly, and then I'm growing up in the absolute opposite. My parents, and this is not an exaggeration, never yelled, never raised their voice, never hit us. They disciplined us when we did something wrong, but it was never in anger. So you could accept the discipline. You didn't like it, but you could accept it but I never felt fear.
Yeah.
And you never want your child to feel fear of you. The world's going to treat them a lot differently. They've got to have a landing zone. They got to have a place to come home, because school's going to be tough, friends are going to be tough, coaches are going to be tough. All those people are going to beat up on them.
Yeah.
You want to have the place that they can come back to and nest.
Yeah.
And feel safe.
So I think, like, can we get into like what creates safety and what creates fear? Because I know from experience that a lot of parents can't really understand what it's like being a child. So if you just say, stop crying, or why did you do that, or like snap at your kids or yell at your kids, how is that linked to not feeling safe?
They're going to shut down. Yeah. So there's no ability for them to communicate. And they want to find a place to communicate, even if they don't get everything they want. The most important thing, and this is what I talk about, is my wife was the better parent. She really was, and I admit it, right? I was the easy pushover, yeah. Right? So my kids would come to me saying, oh, Mom is making us do this, and I've got this to do and that to do, and I'd go, come on, like, give them a break, right? The most important thing, and this is what I learned, consistency.
Yeah.
Both parents have to be on the same page, because what kids are looking for is safety comes in consistency. I know what to expect.
Yes.
And if you teach them what they know, that this is what's going to happen when I do this, as opposed to Dad's going to hide it under and brush it under the carpet, Mom's going to get upset with me, right? Who are they going to go to? They're going to go to the weak link. Oh. And so they'd be coming to me to get out of stuff they didn't want to do, and I would be that weak link. And I talk about this a lot. I made the mistake in not being on the same page as her. Even when I didn't agree with her, I still should have been on the same page with her. So as parents, you need to talk and say, what's our policy on this? What's our policy on this?
Yes.
And get it straight.
Yeah.
And be consistent. The kids may go, that's not fair. Yeah, maybe it's not, but this is the way we're going to do it. They will like that, even though they say they don't.
Change isn't linear. It's a process, and you learn every day. I've created an audio file that reprograms your subconscious mind to fall asleep faster and stay asleep and go through all of the sleep cycles you need to go through throughout the night. Just click the link below and you can download it so that you get that extra little help and can get into really good sleeping habits. I love that you say that, and it is so huge. And I think a lot of people don't get it. And personally, when my kids were small, because I remember a friend of mine, she pointed this out to me. She's like, because I would say, no, you can't have that. And then they would nag and blah, blah. And then after a while I was like, okay, whatever. And she was like, Anakin, you need to be consistent. I'm like, and then I understood. It's the same with animals as well,
sure,
right?
It is. Yeah.
So they need the consistency and the boundaries in order to be safe.
Yes.
And what I see, and I'd like to hear your view on this as well, is that a lot of people have low self-esteem, they are people pleasers, and they want to be best friends with their kids.
Yes.
So they think they're doing the kids a favor when they don't set boundaries. Oh, my kid was crying so much, so I just gave him permission to play those video games or whatever. So they say no, and then the kids are crying and making a scene. And they're like, okay, I'll give it to them. So they think they're doing the kids a favor, being kind, letting them have stuff, and they are not setting boundaries.
Right.
What's your viewpoint?
Oh boy, yeah. It's going to show up later in their life. So you think you're doing them a favor now, right? But you're going to pay the price later.
Yeah.
And when they get old enough to start having their own authority to make decisions, what are you teaching them? They can get around you, right? And so you don't want them to do that. Yeah. My dad had a great way of saying it. If he said something and I didn't like it, right? And I was saying, and whatever I did, he'd turn around and say, is there anything that I didn't make clear to you? I thought I was pretty clear. Tell me what wasn't clear to you. He put it back on me to tell him what I understood. And you go, no, you didn't understand. I think I was clear, right? Are we in agreement that that's what I said? He made me repeat what he said so that I had no way out.
Powerful.
Really, and not mad,
Yeah.
right? Like, I need to understand, make sure you understand, right? And then if you don't understand why your child's so mad or there's something wrong, right? Here's a really powerful thing to say. Help me to understand what you're trying to tell me. Because you're not saying you're bad or you're wrong. You're just saying, I don't understand what you're trying to tell me. And then sometimes they may tell you and it doesn't make any sense, but they're just fighting. Right? And so then and sometimes, it's old sales technique. It's like an objection. Somebody throws an objection at you and you repeat it back. So what you're telling me is, right? You don't have enough money? Like you're living in a mansion? No, I didn't say that. Oh, that's what I heard. Right? So make them repeat it back to you. And then sometimes their whole argument falls apart. Right? But you don't do it with anger. You do it, I don't think I understand what you're trying to tell me. So help me to understand it, right? And then once they get it across, well, sorry, that doesn't make sense. Then you're not saying no right to their face and fighting them. You're giving them a chance to dialogue with you. And they can present their argument, and their argument just will fall apart. But I just want to go because it's going to be fun and all my friends are going. Right? My mom did that in a particular situation. It was actually really good to save me. I came home one day and I said, one of the teachers, who turns out was a pedophile, had asked all the boys to go on the weekend swimming with him at the Y. And so I came home and I was all excited. I was thinking, this is great. We're going to go to a pool, all our friends. And I said, he invited us to go to the pool. She goes, no. She goes, I don't understand why a 45-year-old man wants to hang around with boys that are not his. And I said, but everybody's going to be there, and I told her all the people that are going. She goes, no. She goes, and I said, but everybody's going to be there. And she goes, everybody but you. Right? And I had...
Smart woman.
Smart, really smart. But she wasn't mad or anything. She gave me the logic. I don't understand why that man wants to hang around with young boys that are not his. That doesn't make sense to me. Right? And I'm saying, yeah, but everybody's going to be there. That doesn't matter. That's not still... I still wasn't presenting the argument. Right? And that she wanted to hear. It's not safe. And then as she said that, I started to go, yeah, that sort of does make sense. Why is he wanting to hang around with the kids? Right? That didn't, and it turns out years later, he was molesting the kids. So you've got to develop that relationship that children will accept sometimes your advice. They may not, I didn't like it because I still thought I could protect myself. She was just like, no, I'm not going to let you get into that position.
Smart.
Very smart.
So, and what you're saying here is that, she was setting boundaries. Without being like hard or mean or anything. And I think a lot of people misunderstand, because I think a lot of people think that, okay, boundaries is hard, it's violent, and I need to be kind to my child, so I can't set boundaries. Boundaries are love.
Yes.
Kids need them, and you can set them with a calm manner, like you loving and caring. It can still be a clear boundary.
Yes. And even though my mom constantly told me she loved me. So even in that situation, even though she knew I wasn't happy, right? She hugs me and says, I love you. Right? So she's not mad at me because I came with this harebrained idea. Right? She got why I wanted to do it. It sounded like a lot of fun. But that wasn't really going to be the fun, right? The way she saw it. She saw the danger in it. And so just wise parenting. Right? And again, because they never did it in anger, right? I presented my argument, I got a chance to counter offer, right? Everybody's going to be, nope, still don't see it. Nope, you haven't convinced me.
And that made you accept it when they explained why.
As opposed to, no, absolutely not, you're not going to do that. And I go, but that's not fair, right? She gave me why. She had her reasons. And then, and as she presented it, I was like, okay. I still thought I would have been okay, right? but I wouldn't have been.
You wouldn't have been?
Nope.
No.
And so all the other parents probably didn't see that, or they're just like, oh yeah, good, get my kids out for the weekend. Yeah, he's a teacher, it's got to be safe.
Scary stuff.
Nope. So many of those things. And that's the other thing, is teach your children, right, the warning signs without scaring them.
Yeah.
And so you can tell them, like, here's a couple of things, especially with young children. If an adult asks you for help, that's a warning sign. And so let me explain, and then you explain why.
Yeah.
You say, you're 7 years old, right? Your little brother's 3 years old. Are you going to ask your little brother to help you do something? Why? Because he can't do it as good as you. He doesn't need you don't need his help, right? So when an adult who's bigger is asking you smaller, does it make sense? Then they're going, no. So if a parent or somebody asks you, an adult asks you for help, you have to give them their script. Don't just leave it at that. So what you say is, if somebody does that and you feel that uneasy feeling, right, here's your script. Let me go ask my mom. Boom, and you're gone.
Yeah.
Don't wait for permission. Don't wait for okay.
Yeah.
Just say, I'll go ask my mom. And you immediately go home. So don't get into the conversation with them, because in these kinds of situations, these predators are well equipped. They've got all the scripts. They know how to say it. They're trying to catch the child off guard.
Yes.
So you need to give them the tools on how to get out of those kinds of situations. And then they know in advance and practice it. And so what would you say if somebody says that, right? Here's what I would say. Excellent.
Oh, that's such a good advice. And yeah, because kids are, easy to manipulate, because they are literal
They're trusting.
until the age of 7, and they are trusting, because why wouldn't they trust
They have no
adults?
reason to believe anybody's lying. They don't even know what lying is. They're just saying it as it is, because they're literal. They're telling you exactly what's on their mind.
Yeah.
And they just assume everybody's doing that. They wouldn't hurt me. They didn't say they were going to hurt me, right? And so if you give them these tools early on, then they learn to recognize where the danger is without scaring them,
Yeah.
right? And just say, I want you to understand that this doesn't make sense.
Yeah.
So maybe the person's just a nice person. We don't know. But the situation doesn't add up to me.
Yeah.
So those kinds of situations you need to look for.
Yeah.
Here's the other thing that's really powerful, right? Because we teach them the opposite. It's okay if you feel uneasy to lie. Give them the permission to lie to protect themselves. We don't teach them that. What do you say? Respect your elders. Be kind to older people.
Go give this person a hug, even though you don't want to.
No way. Right? They don't want to, that's okay.
Yeah.
And back them up.
Yeah.
So if the person says, oh, what's wrong? Why won't they give me a hug? What's wrong? Just say, they don't feel comfortable, and thank you for respecting them not giving you the hug.
Powerful.
Really powerful. So you have to teach them that they can lie to protect themselves, and you'll back them.
Yeah.
The other one that's really powerful is, if you tell me something, I will believe you. Because that's one of the things that predators work on, right? If you go tell your mom, she won't believe you, she'll be mad at you. If she finds out you did this or they lure them in, and then they blackmail them. So what you want to do is say, if anything happens and somebody, is putting you in a situation saying your mom or your dad are not going to believe you, you're going to be in trouble, right? If you tell me that, I want the relationship, I will always believe you. And I will back you.
Yeah.
They need to know that.
Yeah.
And that's not what they would think, right? Because you've told them, be respectful to older people. Don't lie, right? And then now they have to lie to protect themselves. But if you didn't give them permission, and you give the situation where it's okay, when you feel something's wrong or you feel uneasy, your gut's telling you, I don't know if I should be doing this, lie and come and tell me what happened,
Yeah.
and I'll back you.
And it's so powerful to teach our kids to actually listen to that gut feeling, because
Yes.
everything else in society tells us not to listen.
Yeah.
And that will give us problems later on when we're adults.
It'll show up. Yep. So trust that gut instinct, teach them the things that they need to do, look for some warning signs, and at the same time you're teaching them this, just say, the world's a very safe place.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, there's some people that are not trustworthy, right? But most people would be trustworthy. But always tell me, right, when somebody is asking you to do something, don't do anything without me knowing about it. Don't go anywhere with anybody without me knowing about it.
Yeah.
Because that's how I protect you.
Yeah. Wow. Such good advice. And it's like, I'm sitting here thinking, like, because the first years of a person's life, the childhood years, the formative years are so important. And
Yes.
this is what you teach. It's because whatever they learn when they're kids is what runs their behavior, their thoughts, their feelings when they're adults, when we're adults, because what we learn when we're kids, it doesn't disappear, it doesn't change unless we go in and
Unless
do
we
some
make the
work.
corrections, yeah.
So I'm like, okay, all parents should get a handbook when they get pregnant,
Right?
when they're expecting kids,
Yeah.
like the manual, what to do and what not to do.
Yes.
And you've written a book, haven't you?
Yes.
Oh, that's exciting.
And I called it Don't Mess With My DNA.
I love that.
Because what parents don't understand is your children's DNA, the DNA doesn't change. It's the gene expression that changes. So if a child is early on having traumatic experiences, things like that, it will affect the way their DNA is read and transcribed. And so it's not the DNA changing, it's the way it's processing, right? And the way the genes are regulating. So especially when we have trauma, the genes that regulate inflammation upregulate. The genes that regulate immunity downregulate. Same with neuroplasticity, neurotransmitters. So children who are experiencing a lot of trauma, it will show up. There's a study called the ACEs study, and it was done showing adverse childhood experiences and how much it changed the way they physically and mentally are operating later in life. And it was so dramatic that it just shocked the researchers. That we're thinking, why are people getting cancer and why are people getting, lung diseases and why are they getting all these different things or having all these different mental health issues? Trace it back to their childhood, and their DNA and their gene expression, right, got affected. So that's why I called it Don't Mess With My DNA.
Love that.
Keep it clean, right, so that it's read and transcribed accurately.
I love that. So your book is coming out pretty soon.
Absolutely, yeah, it's going to be out it's just in its final edit, and then we're going to introduce it.
Okay, so what can people expect from the book?
It's basically what I learned through my childhood, what Bridget learned through her childhood, and we're saying we didn't get it perfect, nobody does. So the biggest thing is, if you feel like, oh my gosh, have I messed my child up, right? No, you haven't, right? Everything is correctable. So understanding, so if you got children between 0 and 7, I'm talking about the things that you can do to start modifying it. The same thing as they get older. So everything is fixable. So don't beat yourself up. A lot of times we're operating through what I call atmospheric conditions of the way we grew up. So often I hear people say, well, that's what my parents did, and I'm okay, right? And then you go, all right, let's take a look at what you're telling me, right? Well, I have this issue, right? We can trace it right back. And I believe 80% of the physical issues that we're dealing with are psychological.
Yeah.
And it comes right back to it.
Yeah. I agree.
Yeah.
From my experience. So, okay, so let's go back to the first year, like the 0 to 7. What are do's and what are don'ts, like, to give a little heads up? What
Definitely watch your tone, the way you say things, the way you talk to your children. If there's something really important you're trying to communicate, get at their level and ask them, do you understand? Right? Is this making sense? And ask them to repeat back what I just said. And you may be surprised at what they sometimes repeat back what they heard.
Yeah.
Then you say, okay, let me rephrase that. I may be able to say that better to help you understand that. Yeah. So don't blame them for misinterpreting it. Take it on yourself and say, let me communicate that a little better for you.
Yeah, I mean, even my 15-year-old, there's so many situations where I tell him to do something and I don't explain it well enough, and he interprets it in a literal way, or he doesn't understand the whole picture.
No.
So I can't come up with like an example now, but it would be like, he hears, like in my head it makes sense. For an adult it would make sense. And
yes.
He only hears the words without knowing what it actually means, and then he does half of the job, or like, it's just like, oh, okay, I need to, like, and he's 15 years old.
Yes.
Can you imagine a 5-year-old?
They have no idea, right, how to get it. So that's why it's really important. If you ask your child to do a job, right, and you're not happy with the job, sit down with them and explain, so let me explain what I was looking for, right, and then show them. And so then they understand, oh, so this and this and this on top of it, yes, that would have been perfect. Right? So let's see if we can improve on this.
Yeah.
Right? So then the next time, so you're not getting mad at them, right? And make them feel safe that if they make a mistake and they didn't do it right, what are you going to do? You're going to yell at them? I told you, what's wrong with you? So when you say things like, you always make that mistake, or well, what's the point? They're literal. If I always do it, what's the point in trying to fix it? Because I'm always doing it that way. Or you never do that. Well, there's no point trying that now, because that's so permanent to them.
Yeah.
Right? And so you want to make sure that you communicate it really, really well and say, I think what I'm seeing here is that you've given a good effort, but I think you got more in you. Let's see if we can make this even better. And then show them. And say, so if we put this over there and this over there, got that off the floor and got that in the closet, wow, look at that difference. What do you think? Right? And then you're showing them what you're expecting of them.
Instead of saying, but I told you to. It's like, whoa.
Or go clean your room. And then you go in there and you go, it's still a mess. Right? Well,
you didn't tell me to pick up the clothes.
Right.
It's like they don't.
Well, I'm going to wear those again, so I just left them out.
Yeah.
Right? No.
So, and what happens though if you tell a child like, you always do this or you never do that or whatever? How does that show up later in life?
They give up. They think they can't do it right. Or they're going to become a people pleaser and they're going to try to they're going to try to keep you happy. And so they'll do whatever to make you happy. Or they just get to the point where they just don't care. They don't even try anymore because they feel like I never get it right. Yeah. They're always mad at me. Yeah. But you never explain what you're looking for. Yeah. And so it's so important to be clear in your communication. And the earlier you can do that, and this is really funny because this is just a couple weeks ago. My son said in front of his 3.5-year-old child, he says, oh my gosh, it's raining cats and dogs. And my grandson goes, it is? Cats and dogs? And we start laughing, going, oh my gosh. He thinks he's so literal, right? And then he says, what do you mean? Right? He was like so confused. Yeah. Right? And you forget how the little things that we say can have an effect on them. Wow. Now those are funny things.
Yeah, they're funny and they won't really hurt.
Not going to get hurt by it. They're just confused. Yeah. Right? And that's okay because you can clarify it. Yeah. But if you said, so there's a good example. You say, oh, it's raining cats and dogs. And they're like, what's that mean, right? Would you just walk away? No, you would say, I'm sorry. That's a saying that people use. It's not really cats and dogs, right? And so you explain what you meant, and then they get it, right? Yeah. Like ends meet. If my mom had said, oh, I'm talking about the bills and the money coming in and making the bills, right? I would have went, oh, that's ends meet. Now I got it. But she never thought to do that, and I never thought to ask. So you don't realize all of those little things are going to show up somewhere. Now, if they're not big things like ends meet kind of stuff is not going to have an effect on a child. But if it was like, good example, never in front of your kids do you put your spouse down.
Oh, yeah. Wow.
Like, oh, your mother makes me so mad. She's like, blah, 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 right? The kid then goes, woo, okay. Where's that coming from? An authority figure.
Yeah.
And so then how are they going to treat, right, your spouse?
Yeah.
Right? They're going to think it's okay. If my dad did that, it's okay for me to do that. My dad never, I think we talked about it on the car ride up here, right? Is that my dad would not allow us to do that.
Oh, would you tell us the story you told me in the car?
Yeah.
It was so beautiful.
So, and this was just sort of like what I thought was a pretty simple comment. I was about 15 or 16 and I was walking out of the kitchen and my mom said something to me and I said something like flippant, like, yeah, okay, whatever, right? And as I walked around the corner, he was there and he stopped me, not mad, he stopped me and he says, she's your mother, but she's my wife, and I don't allow anybody to talk to my wife like that. Now stop it. That was powerful, because that taught me how to treat women, right? You don't treat women like that.
Wow.
And so he was the example in the house. My mom was the example in the house. So if you want to raise your children right, be the example.
Yeah.
How do you deal with frustration? Right? So you're like getting mad that something's not working and you throw the wrench or you whatever, right? And then you go, I don't understand why my child has a temper, right? They just don't seem to handle, pressure, right? My dad never did it. It was bizarre. I don't know if I told you the story about the car.
No, I know you've said, you said that he never got angry when so tell me the story about the car.
So I'm 12. Right, and I wanted to play hockey in the driveway, and his car was in the middle of the driveway. So I'm like, I know how cars work. I'm 12, right? I'm going to just turn the car on. I'll back it up, right? I'm not going far. I'm just going in the driveway just to give myself enough room to play hockey. It's a standard. I don't know what a standard is. So I get in the car. I turn the key on, right? And because it's in reverse, the car jumps back. And I left the door open, and it got caught on the door. The door got caught on the wall of the house next door. And I'm like, oh my God, what am I going to do? Right? And so my dad had built an environment that allowed me to go find him and say, Dad, I made a mistake. And he said, what happened? And I explained to him. And you know what's the first thing he said? Are you okay? Is anybody hurt? I was like, no and no. He goes, okay, let's go take a look. Right? We go upstairs, he's not mad. I don't feel any tension in him, right? It's probably when he got there, it was relief that the car's not smashed, right? And he looks at it and he says, okay, get in the passenger seat. And he gets in the driver's seat and he says, and he gives me a lesson on standards. Here's what happened. The car's in reverse. And I remember this conversation. He says, when you turn the key, the engine turns, right? The transmission then goes into the gear that it's in, which is reverse, and it's going to go backing up. You have to put the clutch in, and he's explaining the clutch and the gas and the engine and all of that kind of stuff. And he's giving me a lesson, right? I'm still not yelled at or anything. And he says, okay, so here's what we're going to do. He says, you're going to go with me. We're going to go to the store. We're going to get all the parts. He says, we're going to fix it, and you have to sit with me while I fix it, and you learn what you did. And that was my punishment.
So beautiful.
Yeah. And so am I going to feel like I can't bring him a problem?
No.
If I make a mistake, I'm safe.
Yeah.
Right? Best example, right? And that's what I love. If you can create that in your household, I mean, my father raised 3 of us. We're all responsible, right? People. We've raised our families and we've done as best a job we can. But my dad and my mom were the models. And they created that safe zone and be able to talk. If you can do that, boy, and it sounds like you've done that. Just what you explained with your daughter, I was like, congratulations, that is awesome.
I've done my best at doing that. And I have to say, like when you're talking about your parents, I'm thinking back to my upbringing. I always knew it was safe to come when I had done something. Like I did, when I started driving, I had some, let's call it mishappenings. It was always safe to come and say,
Yeah.
Mom, this happened, and it was okay. They never yelled at me if I broke something. It was always like, okay.
What happened?
Yeah.
Yep.
So, and because they were people who knew what were the real values, money or breaking something, that's,
No.
what is that?
Yep.
So yeah, with my kids as well, I've always been, if they broke something or did something, it's like, okay, we'll fix it. And talking about the car, it made me think about my son. He always loved to throw rocks in the ocean, or wherever he went, he
Right.
loved to throw rocks. And we had like a car that my husband was selling. It was in front of our house, parked in front of our house. The new buyer was on his way.
Oh, no.
And my son, 2-year-old, he was there, and he was like, and my husband just hears the words, "Big rock."
Oh, God.
There are two things my son loves: cars and throwing rocks. So he took the big rock.
Through it. Oh, my gosh.
So we didn't get angry. Of course, he was 2 years,
2 years
old.
old.
He loves cars. He loves rocks.
Yep.
And whenever he's throwing rocks, we're like, yay!
Yeah. Wow.
So yeah, and that is like exactly what you're saying. It's creating a safe environment. And I understand that if you have those patterns from your own upbringing, that you'll snap or that you yell and be angry, that is the first reaction, the first instinct that will sort of happen, that
Yep.
it might trigger you. And as you say, you can always say, I'm sorry,
Yes.
afterwards, and repair it. And if you can train yourself to not react in that way and just be calm, sit down,
Yep.
do it the way your father did it.
And what you said in the very beginning when we started, we should all get a manual for our kids.
Yeah.
Your upbringing was your manual.
Yeah.
And so what are you reading from? You're reading from your manual on how to respond to your kid.
Yeah.
So when you look at it, you go, do I need to rewrite this manual? Maybe you do.
Maybe.
And so you can do that. And then figure out the way, like, I can't tell you how many people would say, yeah, my dad was, a violent guy and he'd hit me, but I knew he loved me and I'm okay. And I'm like, it's showing up somewhere.
Yeah.
And so identify the things that when you were a child, right? And how many parents or people have said, I'm not going to do what my parents did and then you go back to it, right?
Yeah.
It's because that's what you learned. That's your manual.
Yeah.
And so when a new event comes up, your mind goes to the manual. How do we handle when our kids throw a rock at a car? So if you'd grown up with, you got beat up or you got yelled at or you got slapped when you did that, that's how you would have responded.
Yeah.
Not because you're a bad person, but because that was your conditioning. That was the manual that got instilled in you early in life. And so if you want to change it, change it. And this is what the book is going to talk about. If you want to make the changes are possible. And then your child's manual is going to get changed.
Yeah.
And so change your child's manual. Don't mess with their DNA. Fix their DNA.
So powerful.
Yeah.
Yeah, so, okay, and I think a lot of people are like, okay, obviously if there's a lot of fighting or trauma, the big T trauma or abuse, whatever, that they can clearly see that will show up as problems later in life, which is more obvious. And then there are the less obvious things that people don't think about. Like,
Yes.
We've touched upon it. Do you want to go a little bit more into this so that people get it clear? Because all parents want to do the best for their children.
Yes.
They really want to help their kids. And if we don't know what is the best thing or how what we do will affect them, then we can't do any better.
Yeah. If you don't understand the problem, you can't fix it.
Yeah.
So, if, like a lot of people will say, well, that's how I was raised, and if it was good enough for me, it was good enough for my kids. But when you really think about it, is that really the best way? I totally, when people say, what's the saying, spare the rod, spoil the child, right? Like if you don't, slap your kid or spank your kid, right, then you're going to spoil them. I never got hit. My brother never got hit. My sister never got hit. We didn't get spoiled. We respected our parents.
Yeah.
And the biggest thing you could do is disappoint them. Yeah. That was the worst thing. Yeah. I remember one time, this is not a great story, but I remember one time it was in a hockey game and I was playing, and I got so frustrated, right? I took my stick and I smashed it up against the glass and swore at the same time. I won't say the word I said. I was like, whack! And my dad's standing right there. And you know what he does? He just goes, I was like, oh,
That hurts.
oh, that was the worst. I disappointed him,
Yeah.
right? And then afterwards, you know, we got in the car, right? And I said, yeah, sorry, Dad, that wasn't my best. He goes, okay. He didn't keep talking about it. It was okay. He knew that I knew I made a mistake, right? And he's not going to beat me over the head with it, right? As long as I acknowledged it, right? And that's all he was looking for. If I hadn't said anything, I don't know if he would have said something, because the look on his face was all I needed. I disappointed him, and that was, I hated to disappoint him. I didn't want to do that.
Yeah. Wow. Your parents seem so awesome.
They really were, and it was phenomenal. So when Bridget got into our life, she's got this terrible childhood, and I've got this idyllic childhood. She absolutely loved my parents, and they loved her. She was amazing. And so my mom was the huggy one. She was the lovey, huggy one, you know. And my dad was sort of the British, you know, little like, you don't, you know, get really lovable. You know, your kids love you, but you don't have. But he wasn't the real emotional, loving guy. And so Bridget is. So when she got in the family, she'd come in the house and she'd sit right beside him and cuddle all into him, and he was like, okay, that's good. He's like, okay, thanks. She'd go, but I love you, and she's hugging him and kissing him. After a while, she'd come in and he'd go, where's my hug? Sit down here with me. And I'm like, that's not the father I grew up with. She totally changed him. He became so loving and so openly affectionate, which he never would have done that before. So she actually changed him.
Powerful. So it's never too late.
It's never too late. And he was a great father, just wasn't the affectionate, you know, and so, but I've done that with my kids. I've become very affectionate, and they can hug me and they can kiss me, and because I like that. So my mom had the one, my dad had the other, but eventually my dad came into the other side.
I like that. Yeah, I tell my kids every day that I love them. I hug them every day. In the morning, in the evening, when they go to school, like when they come back.
Yep.
Always.
And you can show them so many different ways. It's not just even saying it, it's showing them that you love them.
Yeah.
Here's a really simple thing, especially for younger kids, right? When our kids do some artwork or bring something home from school, put it on the fridge.
Oh, yeah.
What you're telling them is, right, that you see them, right? And you're proud of them. Yeah. If they do something really well, tell other people in front of them, right? My daughter, blah, 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 she saw this person struggling at the grocery line, and she came over and she helped her with her cart, right? I was so proud of her, how she did that, right? Because you're acknowledging what you're seeing, you're reinforcing that really good behavior that they do. And when you tell other people, it makes them feel like you've noticed them, you've seen them. They want to be seen.
So huge. And as you're talking now, I'm just like getting all these ideas. I'm connecting the dots in my head. So I'm looking forward to reading your book.
Right.
So it's coming out soon, right?
Very soon. So it should be out before the end of the month.
Okay, perfect. So by the time this airs, probably it will be right on the launch date. So where can people find the book, order the book?
It should be on our website. So we'll have it on inspiredperformanceinstitute.com, and then you can order it. And I think it'll be on Amazon as well. So it'll be on Amazon.
Nice.
Yeah.
So what else do people need? Okay, we know that like the first years are obviously the most important ones.
Yeah.
All the years the kids live with us are important, and whatever we do which is suboptimal, we can repair it later in life.
Yes.
Yeah.
100%.
And what else is important that we that parents know before we wrap up, do you think?
I think that the best lesson I can give is really just this simple: make your home safe.
Yeah.
And what I mean by that is it's got to be the place that they can come and rest. And that's what I said to Bridget. She goes like she looked at my report cards in school, and she goes, school was so easy for you. I said, of course it was easy for me. I'm not worried. That wasn't intelligence. That was ability to come and relax and do my homework and not feel fear. I wasn't worried that my dad was going to come home and there was going to be screaming and yelling and hitting. Imagine living in that environment. I don't know how they do it. I see these poor kids and they grow up in these homes. And then, so her father would do that. So when I first met her, I started hanging around her house a lot. And I was like, this house is different. And the way I explain it is, it felt fake. Yeah. I said, the I love yous sound fake, the hugs felt forced. I said, I felt like I was watching a play with really bad actors. That was the only way I could explain it. Because I didn't know what I was seeing. Yeah. What I was seeing was fear. Yeah. And then when I saw him explode, I was like, oh, now I get it. They were afraid. So if I had come over right after he'd exploded, right, he's trying to cover up and would say, come on, give me a hug. You know I love you. Tell me you love me. And they didn't. And so I was misinterpreting it until I saw it. And so they didn't feel that at all. No. But they couldn't do anything about it. Yeah. They were petrified of him. They couldn't stand up to him because he had trained them since they were little. And even though they were adults at this point, pretty much adults, like 18 plus, right? They still couldn't stand up to him. Wow. And so they were terrified. He created that. Wow. And I remember one time we were sitting in the dining room. This is just, I'm just boyfriend, girlfriend with her. And he makes some comment. And I said, no, that's wrong. And you could have heard a pin drop. They were like, oh, you don't tell him he's wrong, right? And you could see him be like, no, that's right. And I go, no, you're wrong. I could tell my dad if I thought he was wrong. Yeah. He was end up right most of the time. We'd play Scrabble and he'd come up with words. I go, that's not a word. And he'd go, yes, it is. And I go, no, how is that a word? He'd go get the dictionary. And he'd make us look it up in the dictionary. And he was right, like every time. But this guy, I had to do the same thing with him. Is he turned around and says, I'm right. And I said, and he goes, you want to make a bet? And I said, sure. So we bet $20 and went to the dictionary. And he was like, okay. And you could see like everybody going, oh, that was a mistake. Even though I was right, I still made a mistake because they're going to pay the price when I leave. Wow. Right.
Wow. And the most beautiful thing about that story, she lived for so many years in a home like that. And now she's the most radiant, beautiful person.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's all fixable.
It's all fixable. And we got her trauma all cleared up. And so now she's living the best life she can live. And so she just couldn't, even though she was living with me, she still wasn't enjoying it because she was still dealing with that unresolved trauma. Yeah. Once we resolved the trauma, then she could start to really enjoy it. She was always worried that it was going to fall apart. Something's going to go wrong. When's the shoe going to drop? Yeah. Right? But you know what got her through those 18 years until I met her? No. Hope.
So important. So
she
what
was hopeful.
Gave her hope, do you think?
Her grandmother was very spiritual and went to church all the time, prayed all the time, and Bridget really gravitated towards the grandmother. Yeah. And so she just felt like one day this is going to be better. Wow. And that hope is what got her through. Wow. So if somebody's in that situation, use hope. Yeah. It's so powerful.
Yeah. We can always change things with the right knowledge, the right tools. Yeah.
I've seen it. I've seen people transform their lives from some of the most horrific kinds of childhoods that they grew up with and literally transform, not only mentally, physically. My daughter's the best example. Yeah. Right? My daughter had 2 autoimmune disorders, both gone when we cleared the trauma. And my daughter grew up in the home I grew up in. So you've got the same kind of home with the same kind of parents, not yelling, not screaming, not hitting our kids, right? And we didn't know that my daughter had some trauma when she was 6 that she never told us about. And then it showed up in 2 autoimmune disorders. And so, but we didn't know that until we figured that out. She was gonna continue to lose more and more of her intestines and continue to have lung disorders. Yeah.
So, such a powerful story, and I just I've been seeing her the last couple of days,
Yeah.
and she's happy, healthy, and she's a star.
Yeah, she is. She's incredible.
Wow.
And even going through it, she was still pretty positive, right? So she really held out that. Again, and that was the world she was growing up in.
Yeah.
So that had an effect on her. So even though her health was deteriorating and she was getting worse, she was still a good, positive person because that was the influences Bridget and I had on her. But she couldn't fix the health things, and we couldn't fix the health things because we didn't know how her mind and brain were working until we realized that there was the unresolved trauma that was creating the issue. So she was always been a really good person.
Yeah.
And she just couldn't live her best life
Yeah.
because the trauma was affecting her physical health.
Not anymore.
Not anymore.
Wow.
Both are gone.
If you're interested in learning more about how your brain works, how your subconscious works, and how you can reprogram all that old emotional stress, click subscribe and follow for more.